Welcome back to the Parenting Series podcast of What You Don't See About Me as a Parent. This is episode 3, Daily Life is Full of Small Triumphs. I'm going to warn you right now. What I'm about to say, not everyone is going to like. Some parents will hear these words and feel uncomfortable. Some may even feel offended. But please, don't click away. Don't turn this off, because sometimes the truth that makes us most uncomfortable is the truth that actually sets us free. I don't hide the truth. I don't sugarcoat things, even if they're painful, because the truth, spoken in love, can save your child's independence. And regret hits far harder than any uncomfortable truth you hear today. 10 years from now, when your child is older and struggling to function, you don't want to be the parent whispering, "If only I had listened. If only I hadn't dismissed the advice. If only I had acted sooner." I am not here to please parents. I am here to fight for children, their survival, their independence, their dignity. My job in this episode is to show you why the small things matter, why the little battles, the daily choices, the endless repetition, those things are not meaningless. They are the foundation blocks of your child's future. The truth is, outsiders only see the finished product. They see the 19-year-old girl who gets up every morning, goes to work, shops for her younger sister, and is preparing to study animation at university. They see the independence, they see the confidence, and maybe they think, well, she must have been easy. But they didn't see the yellow towels. They didn't see the meltdowns in the shopping center. They didn't see the scribbles on the wall, the endless transitions, exhausting routines that consume us for years. They didn't see the tears I cried in the car park after carrying that screaming child out of the shopping center, with strangers staring at me like I was kidnapping her. Those small battles were the trials and the triumphs. Those were the bricks we lay one by one that build the foundation of the young adult my daughter has become. So parents, I need you to hear this. Don't despise the small things. Don't ignore them. Don't baby your child into dependence just because it feels easier in the moment. Every meltdown you manage, every choice you offer, every boundary you hold, those are triumphs. They feel small now, but one day you will see they are shaping something bigger than you imagined. Let me take you back to the beginning. When my daughter was diagnosed with autism, I wasn't a bad parent. I was a parent who has been thrown into something I had no preparation for. Autism wasn't something we talked about in my family. It wasn't something my community had a roadmap for. So when the meltdowns came, when the violence came, when the daily battles drained us, I didn't know what to do. But here's what made a difference. I was willing to learn. That's the dividing line between progress and stagnation for many families. It's not about whether you're perfect. It's not about whether you always know the right step. It's about whether you are willing to admit, I don't know everything. I need help. I will take correction, even if it hurts my pride. I remember the early bird course when they asked me how I was feeling. I didn't put on a smile and pretend everything was fine. I was honest. I told them I was overwhelmed, burdened, drowning. I admitted that I didn't have the answers. And because I was willing to be vulnerable, I was able to learn. Not every parent does that. Too many parents stay in their feelings. They hear correction and treat it as an attack. They cling to their pride, their insecurities, their need to be comforted. But parenting a child with autism is not about your comfort. It's about their survival. And here's the thing. You may not like the person giving you advice. You may not like their tone. You may even feel they are being too blunt. But ask yourself, are they telling me this because they hate me or because they're fighting for my child's future? I had to remind myself of that. When David the play therapist told me strategies that felt impossible, I wanted to resist. I wanted to say, you don't know my child. You don't know how hard it is. But then I realized, if I reject his help, who pays the price? Not me, my daughter. Parents, hear me. This is not about you. It's about them. If you allow your feelings to get in the way, your child is the one who suffers. Regret hits so hard, so much harder, when you're standing in front of a 15-year-old who still can't manage basic life skills, skills they should have mastered if you had been willing to learn 10 years earlier. I had to learn that the hard way. But because we humbled ourselves and leaned on God for strength, we survived those years. And more than survived, we laid a foundation. Now let me tell you about one of the strangest battles we fought. The yellow towels. For nearly 2 solid years, everything in our house had to be yellow, especially towels. Bath towels, kitchen towels, hand towels. If it wasn't yellow, it wasn't acceptable. At first, we gave in. Because honestly, who want to face a screaming meltdown over a towel? It felt easier to just buy the yellow towels. And for a while, we convinced ourselves it was harmless. But here's what David helped us see. This wasn't about towels. This was about control. My daughter was controlling the entire household through this rule. And if we allow it to continue unchecked, what would she be controlling when she was 10, when she was 15? We had to face the hard truth. If she couldn't handle the color of a towel, how would she handle the world? Because the world is not yellow. So we made a plan. And parents, listen to me here. This is where most families break. Because the plan involved confrontation. It involved standing our ground. It involved meltdowns. And none of that is comfortable. But it was necessary. We decided to get rid of all but one yellow towel. That was hers. And alongside it, we gave her the choice to choose another color towel. She eventually decided to choose purple. So she had 2 choices now, yellow or purple. When the yellow one was dirty, she had to use the purple one. Oh, the meltdowns that followed. Screaming, crying, refusing. She would stand dripping wet from the bath, sobbing because she didn't want to use the purple towel. And everything in me wanted to cave in to give her back control to avoid the chaos. But we didn't. We held the boundary. And slowly, painfully, she learned. She learned to use the purple towel. She learned to choose between 2 options. She learned that she didn't get to dictate everyone else's choices in the house. Over time, the lesson expanded. Today, she uses every color except pink, and that's her choice, a normal age, appropriate preference, not a meltdown or an inducing obsession. Now, let me pause here because I need you to understand what was really happening. This wasn't just about towels. This was about teaching a choice, teaching respect, and breaking control patterns. Every time we held the line, we were teaching her the world doesn't revolve around you. Other people get to make choices too. You can't always have what you want. Do you know how important those lessons are for adulthood? Employers don't bow to your preferences. college professors don't redesign assignments to suit your sensitivities. Life doesn't organize itself around you. So by fighting the towel battle when she was 4, we were preparing her to handle university at 19. That's why this episode is called Daily Life is Full of Small Triumphs. Because the yellow towel battle looked ridiculous to outsiders. But it was a triumph that prepared her for independence. Parents, don't ignore the small things. Don't say it's just a towel, it's just food, it's just a toy. These are the battlegrounds where independence is forged. Now let me tell you something else. I didn't hold that boundary by my own strength. I cried, I prayed, I begged God for wisdom. There were nights when I collapsed into bed after yet another meltdown and said, Lord, I can't do this anymore. Please give me strength for tomorrow. And he did. He carried me. Isaiah 40 verses 29 says, He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. That was my verse in those years. I was weak, but God was strong. I was empty, but he filled me. And as I look back now, I can see his hand in every small triumph. It wasn't just about parenting strategies. It was about faithfulness. God was teaching me that persistence is holy, that boundaries are loving, that consistency is a form of grace. Let me take you into one of our hardest battlegrounds, the shopping center. I'll be honest with you. I used to dread it. The moment we pulled into the car park, my heart would start racing. I knew what was coming. The lights, the sounds, the endless people. It was like walking my daughter into a storm. Sometimes she wanted to go to McDonald's. Sometimes she wanted the rides at the shopping center. And sometimes there was no reason at all, just the sheer overwhelm of the environment. And when it hit hard. Picture this. Your child screaming, kicking, wailing on the floor in the middle of a shop. People staring, whispers turning into judgment glances. Strangers assuming you're either a terrible parent or that you are kidnapping your own child. And you, broken, embarrassed, exhausted, just trying to survive the moment. I can still remember one day carrying her out while she frailed in my arms. The look on people's faces, some with pity, some with disgust. And autism wasn't as well understood back then. There wasn't the same awareness. So to them, it was like a mother who couldn't control her child. I would get back to the car, sit in the driver's seat and cry, just cry, because it felt impossible. So do you know what I did for a while? I stopped going. I avoided the shopping center completely. And let me pause here, because this is where so many parents go wrong, like I was doing. Avoiding the shopping center gave me relief. But it didn't help her. It imprisoned her. And parents, hear me. Every time you avoid what triggers your child, you are not protecting them. You are robbing them. You are teaching them that the world has to bend to their sensitivities, and the world won't. It's hard, it's embarrassing, it's exhausting, but avoiding the hard places doesn't build resilience. It builds dependence. So we had to tackle the shopping center, not run from it. With David's guidance, we put a plan in place. I went around the shopping center and took pictures of every single shop we needed. I made a visual schedule. I showed her, first we go here, then we go here, then we finish with this. We also built in a surprise slot because life isn't predictable. Sales happen. Queues change. Shops run out of stock. If she couldn't cope with surprises, how would she handle the real world? So we practiced by adding one surprise shop into the list. At first, the meltdowns continued. She would resist, but slowly, with persistence, she began to understand. We follow the list, we get through the shops, and there might be a surprise. And you know what happened? Those meltdowns turned into victories. Another key was my husband. We realized we couldn't both be fighting the same battles, so we split responsibilities. He took on grocery shopping with her. That became their ritual. Every weekend, they would go together. And here's the beautiful part. Even now at 19, they still shop together. What began as a battle turned into a bond. Sometimes I tug along. Sometimes she lets me. Sometimes she doesn't. And honestly, I do mind. I got jealous. Because she and her dad built something special in those years. One of the most powerful lessons we learned through shopping center training was the discipline of waiting. And parents, let me tell you, waiting is not optional in life. It's a survival. If your child can't wait as a child, they will struggle to function as an adult. Too many parents rush in to remove every waiting moment. They let their child cut every line. They justify it by saying, he or she has autism. She can't cope with waiting. I get it. I've used the autism passes too, at Disneyland, at theme parks, but I also minimized it. Because what happens the day the pass isn't available? What happens when the system fails? What happens when life doesn't bend? That's why we never use the airport passes. We taught her to wait in line like everyone else. It wasn't easy. There were tears, there were meltdowns, but every minute she waited, she was building tolerance. Every minute she was laying another brick in the foundation of independence. Today she can wait, and that ability is priceless. Another daily triumph came at the dinner table. She hated vegetables, especially onions and sweet peppers. If she saw them in the food, she refused to eat. So what I did first, didn't cook with onions, didn't cook with sweet peppers, nothing. Couldn't mix vegetables in my rice, nothing. But then I decided, this is what I'm going to do. I'll blend them. Quietly, secretly, I slipped them into the sauce, into the stew. And guess what? She ate it. But I had to make sure that she didn't see me doing it, else she wouldn't eat it. Now, that might sound sneaky, and it was. But it's also taught me something. Sometimes the lesson is about creativity. You don't always have to fight head on. Sometimes you can slip growth in through the back door. But here's the key. I didn't stop exposing her to vegetables. I didn't say, oh well, she hates them, we'll never try them again. I kept introducing them little by little. Her school helped. Her teachers started introducing them at school, and she started eating them. Because tolerance builds over time. Parents, don't avoid. Don't give up. Don't let your child's aversions become permanent prisons. Let me share another example. Drawing on the walls. She loved it, especially along the staircase. Every space on the wall became her canvas. And at first, it was chaos. I tried to stop her. I'll paint every time. I will give out to her. Everything I tried. But instead of shutting it down with punishment, David helped us redirect. We taped paper to the wall. She could draw, but only on the paper. Then we slowly move the paper from the wall to the steps, and then from the steps to a small table beside the stairs, and then we move the table until we get to the dining table, and she moved there. Step by step, we transitioned her. Long process, but it was worth it, because today, that little girl who scribbled on the walls is studying animation in university. Parents, do you see it? The wall scribbles weren't a problem. They were a gift misdirected. By guiding it, by giving boundaries, we turned chaos into creativity. Never despise the small things. They might be the very thing that reveals your child's calling. Now, let me be real with you. These daily triumphs came at a cost. I spent hours waiting outside schools because she refused to go home until her brother was finished with extracurricular activities. Sometimes 2.5 hours in the car. It wasn't fair. It wasn't easy. But instead of resenting it, we used it as training. We created activities for her during that waiting time at home. Crafts, small games, drawing, it wasn't wasted, it was investment. And this is what I need parents to hear. Daily life with autism will demand sacrifice. It will cost your comfort. It will stretch your patience. But those sacrifices are not in vain. They are seeds, and they will produce fruit if you persist. One thing we never compromised on was respect. Even in the middle of meltdowns, we required respect. She could be angry, but she could not be disrespectful. And parents, please hear me this. Do not excuse disrespect in the name of autism. Anger is human. Disrespect is a choice. If you allow it when they are 5, you will be dealing with dangerous consequences when they're 15. Respect was the foundation we laid. And because of it, she learned boundaries. She learned to manage emotions without destroying relationships. That was a triumph, even if it took years to build. Through every meltdown, every shopping trip, every battle over towels and food, faith carried me. Galatians 6 verse 9 says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." That was my anchor, because there were days I wanted to give up, but I held on. And now the harvest is here. Parents often look for big milestones, the dramatic breakthrough, the overnight transformations. But I learned that the real victories are the small ones. The truth is, outsiders only see the finished product. They see the 19-year-old going to work, managing her studies in animation, helping her sister with school lists, cooking and cleaning like any other young adult. That's what they see. They don't see the yellow towels. They don't see the shopping center meltdowns. They don't see the scribbles on the wall. They don't see the endless hours in the car. They don't see the tears, the prayers, the meltdowns, the strategies, the battles. But those were the building blocks. Those were the triumphs that nobody else saw. And if you're a parent listening today, let me challenge you. Don't despise the small things. Don't ignore them. Don't baby your child into dependence just because it soothes your insecurities. Every meltdown managed, every boundary held, every choice offered. Those are victories. They may look small, but they are shaping the future. One of the most overlooked areas of triumph is chores. I said it before and I'll say it again. When you teach your child to contribute at home, you are teaching them to survive outside of it. There were times I would ask her to clean the kitchen, And she'll flat out refuse. No, I'm not doing it, she'll say. And sometimes, I'll let it go. But here's the thing. She always came back around, even when I let it go. The next day I walked into the kitchen and find it spotless. Not just the kitchen, sometimes the whole house. Clothes washed, dishes done, floors clean. She had refused in the moment, but the training had sunk in. She knew it was her responsibility. That's what happens when you insist on contribution. Even when they resist, the expectation settles in their heart, and eventually it shows. Parents, don't rob your child of that by doing everything for them. You may think you are protecting them. You are not. You are crippling them. I never forgot the day she put on her full school uniform by herself. For years she had dressed herself, piece by piece, with endless encouragement, but on her terms. Now we had meltdowns because we were taking away back that control. And then one morning I was just exhausted. I was still in bed. She walked into the room, fully dressed, shirt tucked in, socks on, everything in place. I cried. Not because she looked perfect, but because it was independence. It was proof that the daily repetition, the encouragement, the boundaries had worked. That's what small triumphs look like. They don't arrive with fireworks. They slip in quietly in the ordinary routines. They are monumental. Another triumph that makes me emotional happened just recently. My younger daughter needed school supplies. Normally she'll text me. But this time she texts her sister, "Can you pick this up for me at the shop?" And she gave her a list. And do you know what? She did it. She went to the shop, got everything on the list, and brought it home. No prompting from me, no oversight. She did it all herself. I didn't even know that her sister sent her a list. Parents, that's when you know independence has taken root. Not when they care for themselves, but when their siblings trust them to care for them too. That sealed it for me. It told me that she's not a burden to her siblings. She is stepping into her rightful role as a older sister, and that is priceless. Let me circle back to waiting because it connects here too. Waiting, as I said before, is not optional. It's life. And if your child doesn't learn to wait as a child, they will crumble as an adult. That's why we don't always use the autism passes. Yes, sometimes we use them at Disneyland or theme parks, but we don't rely on them because what happens when the pass isn't there? At airports, we never use them. She waited in line like everyone else because one day if she travels alone, there won't be a parent to smooth the way. And yes, there were meltdowns. Yes, there were tears. But each waiting moment was a triumph. Each one was laying another brick of independence. Parents, don't skip this training. Don't let your feelings guide you. Waiting is not punishment. It's preparation. I couldn't have done all of this alone. My husband, my mom, my aunt, my sister, my friends, all the multidisciplinary team that helps, they were my lifeline. My friend Carlene would take her to the park for an hour every week. That 1 hour felt like a breath of fresh air. My cousin Cheryl would take my son out on Fridays on trains and buses so he could have his own space, his own experiences. Parents, if you have help, accept it. Don't let pride make you refuse support. And if you don't have a wider support system, lean on the professionals. Your teachers, your therapists, work with them, not against them. Because here's the truth. Too many parents stay in their feelings. They hold on to pride, to insecurities, to hurt. They want comfort more than correction, and their child pays the price. Regrets hit harder when reality comes crashing in. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when your child is still dependent, still unable to live independently? You don't want to be that parent saying, if only I had listened, if only I had acted, if only I had let go of my pride. The time to act is now. Looking back, I see God's hand in every step. The early bird course wasn't just information, it was grace. David wasn't just a play therapist, it was a gift from God. Every strategy, every boundary, every meltdown survived. It was God's strength carrying us. And parents, let me tell you, you cannot do this in your own strength. You need wisdom. You need persistence. But above all, you need faith. Because there will be days when you feel like you can't go on. And it is God who sustains you. Isaiah 40 verse 31 says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." That verse became my reality because there were days I was faint, but hope in the Lord renewed me. Every towel, every shopping trip, every uniform, every meal, those were seeds sown in persistence. And today I see the fruit. My daughter is 19. She works. She studies animation in university. She looks after her sister. She cleans the house. She contributes like any other young adult. Yes, I still worry about her socially. Yes, she still struggles with some norms. But she is independent. She is capable. She is striving. And that's what I want for every parent listening, that one day you'll be able to say the same. Let me be brutally honest. Most people only see the end result. They see my daughter now, 19 years, going to university, studying animation, holding down a job, buying groceries, helping with her sister with school supplies, tidying up the house like any other young adult. That's what they see. What they don't see are the foundations. They don't see the endless battles that built her independence. They don't see the sacrifices. They don't see the strategies. They don't see the prayers whispered through tears in the middle of the night. And that's why I call this episode Daily Life is Full of Small Triumphs. Because the triumphs were there all along, even when nobody noticed. Let me take you back even further. Before we had many strategies, before we had early bird, before David, before we knew what we were really facing, my daughter was expelled from 3 preschools. 3. She got kicked out of one of them after 1 day. She was only 2.5, 3 years old. She would walk into a classroom and in less than an hour she would wreck it and destroy it. Tables overturned, toys broken, staff overwhelmed. They didn't know what to do with her. And I can't even blame them. They weren't trained. They weren't prepared. We weren't prepared. Autism was still this vague word. So their solution was to send her home. Parents, do you know what that feels like? To have a preschool tell you they can't handle your child. I'm sure all of you do. It feels like rejection, failure, shame, all rolled into one. But let me tell you something. Those rejections didn't define her. They didn't define me. They push us to fight harder, to learn more, to demand better. And today, the girl who was expelled from 3 preschool is in university studying animation. That's the power of persistence. That's the gift of not giving up. Let's fast forward to today. And let me tell you about a moment that nearly made me cry, and it just happened this week. I was washing my makeup brushes. They weren't coming clean. It was frustrating, messy, time-consuming. I gave up and moved on. I didn't even know my daughter was watching. I didn't even know she saw me doing it. A couple of days later, my daughter came in. I was in the kitchen and she handed me a bag. And she says, "Here is your brush cleaner." Open it, got a little pink thing, rubbery thing with some spikes in it, and said this was a brush cleaner. Here, Mom, this will help you. I was shocked. I hadn't even told her about my frustration. She had just observed me struggling. And then she took it even further. She grabbed my brushes, cleaned them herself, and handed them back to me spotless, like brand new. I was shocked. Do you understand the depth of that? That's not just independence. That's empathy. That's initiative. That's maturity. And every time I use these brushes now, I remember the meltdowns, the yellow towels, the shopping center bottles. They were worth it because they built this. Now let me speak directly to parents. Too many of you are still stuck in your feelings. You're holding on to pride, to insecurity, to the need for comfort. You want professionals to make you feel good, not to correct you. But let me tell you the truth. This is not about you. It's about your child's survival. If you refuse to listen, if you reject correction, if you dismiss strategies because they hurt your feelings, you are crippling your child. And one day regret will hit you harder than any correction ever could. 10 years from now, when your child is still dependent on you, still unable to live independently, when you are still stuck in the same pattern over and over, you will look back and say, if only I had listened, if only I've acted when I had the chance. Because there's going to be a time when these children are not going to learn anything new. The foundation was already set in chaos, and it will continue in chaos. Don't let that be your story. Stop babying your child. Stop treating them like they're incapable. Stop speaking to them in baby voices when they're 10, 12, 15 years old. You think you're loving them, but you are robbing them. Every time you step in to save them from frustration, you're teaching them they can't cope. Every time you excuse disrespect, you're teaching them they don't need boundaries. Every time you smooth the path, you're making the future rougher. Yes, it hurts to see them struggle. Yes, it's painful to watch them melt down. But struggle is the soil where independence grows. Through all of this, faith has been my anchor. There were nights I cried out to God, why me, why her, why us? And the answer wasn't always clear in the moment. But looking back, I see it. God was shaping me. God was shaping her. God was building a foundation that no meltdown, no diagnosis, no rejection could destroy. Psalms 127 verse 1 says, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. I could have tried to do this in my own strength, but it was God who built the house. It was God who gave us David, God who gave us the hurlybird, God who gave us all the professionals that were out there, gave us the wisdom when we were lost. And parents, I'm telling you, lean on Him because you can't do this alone. If there's one thread that runs through our entire story, it's this. We were willing to learn. We didn't know what we were doing. We were overwhelmed, broken, exhausted, but we were willing to listen, willing to take correction, willing to try strategies that felt uncomfortable. And that willingness saved our daughter's future. Parents, your willingness, your unwillingness will shape your child's destiny. It's that serious. Today I say with confidence, the harvest is here. My daughter is independent. She's capable. She's striving. She's studying animation at university. She works. She contributes at home. She supports her siblings. She lives with dignity. Yes, I'm still worried about her socially. Yes, I still pray for her protection. But I know this. If something happened to me tomorrow, she would be okay. She wouldn't be a burden. She wouldn't collapse. She would carry on. And that's the goal. Not perfection, not absence of struggle, but independence, dignity, contribution. So let me close with this. Daily life is full of small triumphs, but you will only see them if you're willing to do the work. Hold the boundaries, face the meltdowns, teach waiting, celebrate the wins, insist on respect, stop babying, embrace strategies, work with teachers, accept correction, trust God. It won't be easy. You will cry. You will be judged. You will feel like giving up. But if you persist, if you stay faithful, one day you will look back and see the fruit. And when you do, you'll realize that every yellow towel, every shopping center meltdown, every uniform battle, every tear, it was all worth it. Because those small triumphs build a foundation that lasts a lifetime. Parents, don't give up. Don't get stuck in your feelings. Don't settle for comfort over correction. Your child's future is worth every sacrifice. Because one day, like me, you will watch your child walk into the room fully dressed, or come home from work with groceries, or quietly observe your struggle and step in to help. And in that moment, you'll know the small triumphs were never small at all. Thank you.